Alright, hey guys, I hope you all are having a wonderful night. I know it's a little bit later than I usually stream, but if you guys are catching the replay later on, hello to all of you. Yes, we're back in the stream. Sometimes I have trouble. There's this new YouTube software that they're implementing, and it is more difficult to use than the last one because what I'm seeing on this screen is different than what's showing up on the live stream. It's a little bit weird, but I hope we're here. Leave me some comments if we're in the live chat, and I cannot wait to hang out with you guys tonight. I know there's been a lot going on in the world right now, and sometimes I feel like maybe it's not great to post these videos, but I think you guys enjoy them, and hopefully it kind of takes your mind off of things and gives a little bit of a break to you, because I know there's a lot of stuff in the media and stuff like that. And so hopefully this kind of gives you a little bit of a break. We can kind of sit here and craft together. So it should be a lot of fun tonight. So tonight I'm going to be sharing some ink techniques. So whether that's stamping, ink blending, watercoloring, and different things like that, and really share with you guys all you can do with the Simon Hurley Create inks. I know this is a video that I made a little while back, but I wanted to kind of update it because since then, we've come up with more things to use in the inks. I'm always discovering new techniques and new things that they can do really well. And so I wanted to kind of update that video. And also, a lot of you guys have liked me updating these videos, but doing them live, so that whether you like the longer version or the shorter version, you can get either one. But in these lives, it kind of feels like I'm really going over a ton of information, so it's almost like you're getting a free class, which is kind of cool. It's just like we're kind of sitting and hanging out, which is super awesome. Hey everyone, I hope you all are having an awesome day. I hope this stream is working. It seems to be. I'm getting lots of comments, which is awesome. So let's get into it. Just leave comments as we go, and I'll kind of check in every once in a while and answer some comments, but I want to make sure it's easy to watch for everybody later on as well. So I won't be saying hi too much, but I hope you guys enjoy the stream. So let's get started. I'm going to be using the Simon Hurley Create inks, and like I said, kind of sharing all that they can do. So be sure to share this video all around, or you know, different things like that, so we can get the video out to everybody, which is going to be super awesome. So these are what my inks look like. I just want to kind of cover the basis of them. They're a felt-based ink, so they're not those foam ink pads that sink in. They're a felt base, but they're a really nice, great, sturdy surface that's going to transfer your ink really easily, which I love. So all of the stuff is linked down below. There are 18 inks in the line so far, wink wink, nudge nudge, but so much fun. I've had tons of fun playing with them, and I use them on basically like all of my cards, which is really awesome. So let me grab out some cardstock. I use stark white cardstock when I'm doing this, and that is kind of important. And I'll talk through that as well as I'm going. It's not just because we manufacture and make the cardstock. It is important because when you're doing some of the techniques, they work better depending on what cardstock you're using. And of course, my inky finger got ink already on this. So let's start off with ink blending. How am I doing tonight? I'm doing well. How about you guys? I hope you are doing well and staying safe. So let's start off with some ink blending. I'm going to go in with my bee sting blending tool, and I just use the mini ink blending tools from Ranger. This is really going to attest to my inks because I know a lot of you guys struggle with this kind of tool and things like that and getting different harsh lines. But when you're using my inks, it really is just a breeze to blend. I wanted to make sure that when I made inks, that they would blend beautifully, they would stamp, and they would watercolor really nicely. And so that's what we set out to do. And so even like right before Creativation, when we made these inks and we're about to go into manufacturing, I said, hey, let's change something. I want to make sure that they blend really well and stamp perfectly. So we did that, and they are just so simple, and I'm not doing any like techniques really with this. If you even want to start on the center of the cardstock, you can, and it just blends out and smooths out. So if you keep going over it, it's just going to really smooth out, and you basically get smooth edges, which is really nice. So yay, thanks Peggy. Yes, you love the inks on the stark white cardstock. They work so well on the stark white. So I'm going to go in with Guppy next, and these are two colors that are going to blend really nicely anyway. So I'm just going to go in here and show you kind of how they blend together. And so you can see that when I go over one with another, it kind of just magically like blends. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it just, all the colors seem to work really nicely together to blend together, and it creates a new color in between as well, which is super cool. So this red and orange color are super beautiful together. And of course, those are two warm tones, so those are gonna blend together already. But I'm gonna go in with some, oops, wow. I'm gonna go in with some kind of surprise colors as well to kind of show you guys really how well these inks do blend together. How long does one ink pad last me? I've had this question come up before, and really it depends on how much you use it. You can always buy re-inkers with the ink pads, but it kind of depends on how much you use it. I'd say they last pretty long, but I use mine every single day, so I do have to re-ink every once in a while, but most of the ink pads that I buy have been on my shelf, and I've been using them over and over, and they're pretty juicy when they arrive. But Ranger does do a good job at making sure there's not too much ink in it, because sometimes that can make the stamping a little bit difficult. So I'm going to go in, and usually with blue and orange, it would create a really gross color in between, right? So this would usually create a nice mucky brown. And I'm not saying that it's creating the most beautiful color, but it creates just a green in between there. So instead of creating a brown, it creates this beautiful color in between, which is what I love about my inks. It's more difficult to create brown than I found with any other ink on the market. Some inks are really difficult to blend with and can create really muddy, gross colors. This literally just created a green in between colors that normally you shouldn't get a nice blend in between. So I'm just going to go in with some clear skies. That's what this color is. And I'll go in and I'm literally touching the orange everywhere here. And it just creates a beautiful blend. And even when you touch the cardstock right away, it might create a harsh mark, but as you continue kind of blending and smoothing them out, they really do just blend together really beautifully. Hey, Linnea's here. She's on my design team. We just got the card from Jackson. It's super awesome. It's downstairs on our counter. Okay, so let's go in with some Sike. Yay, that's awesome. She said she's gonna pick some inks up. 104 Crafter and Planner said she thinks she's gonna pick some inks up. That's so sweet. And then usually when you blend together a green and a red, it creates a gross color in between too. But look, this one's just going to create a nice kind of yellowish orange color, right? Like, it doesn't create gross colors, which I find to be so awesome. My product manager came up to me at Creativation and said, like, usually I would blend warmer tones together or cool tones together, and they would create beautiful blends, but you just use your colors however you want to, and they tend to create some nice blends. Like, it's kind of weird. And so that's what we've really discovered this year, is that they just kind of create some really awesome blends no matter what colors you put them with, so you can really try out some new things, which I think makes the line really unique compared to other ink lines on the market. So here's kind of a new blend, some reds, oranges, blues, and that green in there, which is so much fun. And those colors on screen, they show up on the camera like more intense, as if but they're just so beautiful when you blend them together. I'm not sure if that's showing up perfectly, but it's really an awesome colorway. So one of the techniques you can do with my inks really beautifully is blending. And the cardstock does matter. Let me show you the difference between my cardstock and some other brand. I'm not gonna name the brand. I'm not out here to shade anybody, but it was the company of cardstock that I was using before mine. So let me just grab one quick. Okay, so here is a sheet of cardstock that I was using before I used mine, and this is not really super related to ink, but it does change your effects you're going to get. So I want to make sure you guys get great results with everything, right? Let me check up on some comments. You have a couple blending brushes. Oh, Linnea says Jax was so proud. So he created me this card using the Dudes 2 stamp set, and it's so much fun. And you know, that's really why I created those stamps, so that guys and little kids can kind of relate to it. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, that's the goal, to take your mind off of things. So look, here's my cardstock, and then here is another brand. So this is super stark white, just like the name says, right? And then this is kind of a little bit more of a dull color, and you don't really realize it until you put it against something, and then you're like, wow, the colors really pop off of this one a lot more. But let me show you the difference between them blending, right? So let's go in. Let's do a dark color to show you guys. Did I already put it away? Yeah, I'm pretty good at storage. I just keep my drawers open and I have my inks in there. So here is Bee Sting on my cardstock. So this is the stark white cardstock. And so I started off the cardstock, and it starts kind of lighter, but then you can always build that color up, right? So I can build that intensity up as much as I want to get that really nice, dark, rich, and saturated color. And on my cardstock, the color is going to keep sinking into the cardstock. There's no coating on here, nothing. Whereas I find some of the cardstocks on the industry have coatings on them, and so it won't take the ink nicely. But this, you can layer up as many times as you want, and get a beautiful result in there. And when I touch it with my finger, it's not going to make fingerprints or anything. It sinks into the cardstock, which is beautiful. Now when I go on here, right, Elizabeth said so vibrant, right? So when I go in here, let me show you this cardstock. So it starts off as that kind of lighter color like I got on my like I got on my stark white cardstock. And then what if I want to build up the color, right? So that's the point of kind of these inks, is to build up the color, but the color is not building up, right? So this is what I talk about. I always used to talk about it, but I decided that I wanted to show it because, right, like it doesn't build. It's not able to build. When I run my finger on it, I'll get fingerprints. I get like a gross red stain on my hand. That's why with some other inks too, when you're blending a whole background and you set your fingers on it, it might be just that your paper has a coating on it. So let's look at the difference. Look at that, right? So this is red. This, not so much. It's not so much building up the color. It kind of just stays that one tone because it's not really sinking into the cardstock and building up. So that's the difference between stark white cardstock and another brand of white cardstock. You know, it just depends on what you want. But if you want to expect the best results, I would grab the stark white cardstock and just try it. And I know you'll not be disappointed when you do try it. I'm not really trying to sell you anything, but I just wanted to share that because when I was using this cardstock before, I wouldn't get the best results and I was kind of angry at kind of the products, but it's not really your ink's fault. It is hand in hand. You know, you have to have good cardstock with your ink. I wanted to share that because that is kind of really important when you're doing inked backgrounds. Marcy says she's using my inks and she loves the easy blending. Awesome, Marcy. That's so great. So that's one thing that I wanted to share. Now, another thing with my inks that I wanted to share is the water reactivity. So I'm going to just show you right onto this background here. If I spray it with a little bit of water, it's going to kind of react there. So you'll see it starting to react. And then if I want to intensify that reaction, I can just lift off some of that color with my rag. And it's not going to bring it back down to white. It's going to give you kind of a secondary tone that's a little bit lighter than the other one. So doing techniques with stencils and stamps like this is really awesome. You hoard your... Linnea says she hoards her stark white cardstock like it's gold, right? Jay Smith said, wow, I see what you're saying. I never realized it made a difference. It totally does. So the cardstock really makes a difference when you're crafting. So always check it out. What kind of paper? This is stark white cardstock. I have it linked down below in the description. So you can buy it in a pack of 10 or you can buy it in a pack of 50 at the Ranger site. But I hoard this stuff too. It is so awesome. So don't hoard it like toilet paper, right? We don't need to go out and buy all the shelves. Just grab what you need, right? So this is kind of how it reacts with water. Now, I wanted to share another technique too. So if you have a background like this is the one that I just blended with the inks, and you want to do a technique with it. This is where it gets really cool. So I'm going to use the Prom Queen. Or no, this is Prom Dress. My apologies. My prom is probably going to get canceled, to be honest. But here is the Prom Dress background stamp. And I'm going to just spray it down with some water here. You created, oh my gosh, Peggy created a background with a lot of different colors and she didn't get any accidental mucky colors, which is totally what we go for. I love that. Definitely. So here I'm going to take that background now and put it face down onto the stamp with the water. I'm just going to lightly press all around to make sure that it touches every part of it. Give it a little second to react, and then we'll lift it off and look at that. Oh my gosh, right? It looks like a cool tie-dyed sweatshirt. Oh my gosh, I love how that background looks. And if you want it to stop spreading, you can heat it with the heat tool, and that'll make the water stop kind of moving and spreading on the surface, so it'll lock your background in place. So I don't know if this is going to spread more or not. I don't have my heat tool plugged in right now, but you can, Peggy says she saves her stark white cardstock for blending techniques because she can tell the difference. Totally, and with stamping too, it totally makes a difference. Stark white and solar white. I don't really have solar white in here, but I find that this reacts a little bit better with water. I tested both when I was doing my testing, so it just depends on, you know, what you're looking into, and also this one's a little bit brighter too, brighter white. Okay, I'm just gonna wipe off my surface, and let's do a little bit of stamping too. So I'm gonna go in here. Thank you so much. Yeah, this background turned out super cool. I love it. It looks like a watercolor technique, right? So another thing you could do, let's stick with the water techniques right now. I wanted to share one thing about my inks again. So with my inks, we actually created this little kind of water splash. And it's on all the ink pads. Let me grab another one to show you guys. So it's on this little green one too. And it's just a little bit of a lighter color. So this is the color that it's going to be when it stamps, is that darker green. And then when you add the water to it, it's going to create these lighter colors. So that's why we did that in the packaging, to show kind of the two colors and versatility you get with the inks. Thank you so much. Okay guys, so let's move on to the next technique. I'm going to use the shell maker stencil. It's a 110-pound cardstock. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to use the shell maker stencil, and I'm going to use it to kind of layer things up. I know there's a lot of stuff happening in the world. I'm just going to kind of ignore talking about anything right now. We want to keep this kind of happy and cheerful as a kind of an escape from the from what's going on right now. So this is the shell maker stencil, and I'm going to pull out the masks. Now, I did a video on this stencil. If you're watching the replay of the stream, I'll have the video linked up here so you guys can check it out. Basically, it's a really cool stencil that you can layer together to create these different shells with ink blending. Right, I love how that looks. But today I'm going to show you kind of how to do watercolor stamping with it. So when I stamp with my stencils, and I actually have a video coming out soon, stamping with stencils, when I do this, I do it on the glossier side. There is a kind of more matte side. I'm going to do it on the glossy side. I find that it transfers the ink just a little bit better. And I'm not sure if I shared this on my videos before, but I want to share it again because it's so awesome. So I'm grabbing a piece of stark white cardstock. I'm using this instead of watercolor cardstock because it actually soaks the ink in a little bit quicker, which I like. I'm going to go in here. Let's grab a little bit of Slippery When Wet, which is my lighter yellow color, and I'm just going to add some ink onto here. I always tell people in class, don't be afraid of adding ink, so add a little bit of pressure onto there. It is similar to Ranger's, not to be obnoxious. I don't know which one you're talking about. The inks are all different, so the ink lines are all very different. But I'm not sure what you're referring to completely. So I'm just going to go in with Bee Sting then, and go kind of on the other side, and these two colors are going to blend together really nicely. So I use the warmer tones on this one. I'm just going to wipe off my surface. And let me flip over this. Look, I already stamped on there on accident. It is kind of a messy technique in the end though, so. Okay, so I'm going to grab this up now. It's stuck to my surface. So I sprayed it down with water. You want to get it sprayed enough so that the colors are kind of moving on the surface there. And once it is, I'm going to take this and stamp it onto the surface. And then I'm just going to let that sit there. Yay. Somebody said, Melissa says, I love your stamps. I was using them yesterday. That's so awesome. So let's go in with Tropical Tango for the next one. This technique might take a second or two, but it creates such a beautiful result in the end. And then let's go in with Triple Berry, which is my purple color. And look, purple and green kind of mixing together, but it doesn't create a nasty brown color. The weight of the cardstock, it's 110 pound. I might have added a little bit too much water to this. So the thing about stamping with your inks, it might take a little bit of getting used to because the amount of water you have to add is different each time, depending on which kind of look you want to get from it. So look, that was just about the perfect amount. It's a little bit less. Yeah, you grabbed the bug stencil while you were at the trade show yesterday. Okay, now let's do the last one here. Let me do kind of a blue and green. Or let's do a blue and, yeah, let's do blue and green. So we'll do Clear Skies and Overzealous. This color combo is so much fun. No problem, Alexandra. Going to pull it off there, and then we'll add it right down. And I'm just going to kind of press it down and sop up any excess color that's coming out. And hopefully this works nicely. I might have added a little bit too much water here, but we'll kind of see. So the main point of this was to show you can kind of stamp with the inks and get a really beautiful watercolor technique. Now I did maybe add a little bit too much water, and if you did, you could always kind of mix that water into there. Because usually I end up with a little bit of brighter results. But it depends how much ink you add, it depends how much water you add, and you really get different results each time. But look at how fun that is. And then the cool part about this is let me grab my heat tool so I can kind of heat set this. I'll be right back. I told you guys I didn't have it plugged in, but I'm gonna plug it in quick. Just give me 1 second. Because I want to show a second part of this technique. So here we go. I'm going to just heat set this. And this heat tool is super quiet. This one's Ranger's heat tool. It gets to be just about as hot as every other heat tool on the market, but it's just great for drying inks because it's not going to blow anything around or off the surface or anything like that. So that's why I like this one. I still use my embossing heat gun for embossing, but I like this one a lot for inks. Yay, creating with Tara says, I received my package from Ranger the other day. I'm so excited because now I have all your inks and stamps and stencils. Well, thank you so much. That's so cool. So it's actually nice that this is kind of lightly watercolor, but like I said, again, if you spray it less with water, maybe 1 spray, then it will be a more bold and solid color. So each time it kind of ends up a little bit different. But then I'm going to take the other part of the stencil. So this was kind of a watercolor stamped effect. But I'm going to take the rest of the stencil and kind of fill it in to make sure that we're going to get the look of shells here. So let me go in. For this one, I'm going to go in with Bee Sting. And I'm going to take the top layer of that shell and just go in and line it up and then do my ink blending. I'm just going to fade it out to kind of nothing on there. And look at that. So this just kind of fills in the lines and makes it look like a shell instead of just little watercolor blobs on your surface. So here we go. I'm going to go in second. This time I'll go in with Triple Berry. And do that purple. And of course there is other kind of sections you can fill in. And if you're just doing this with inks, you can give it a different look. But when I'm doing this like this, it's just super simple to go in and add it down. And if you're using, you can always flip the stencil upside down or things like that to make things work. And then I'll go in with Clear Skies to finish this one off. And there we go, right? So look at that. I just love it. So that finishes that off, and then all you need to do is add a sentiment, and there you go, you're finished. I have a sentiment from the Mythical Mermaid stamp set. Let's see, can we find it here? This one says, call me on my shell phone. That's one of my favorite sentiments to go along with this shell maker stencil, but so much fun. I love the idea that you can stamp with the water and then go over top with blending. It just creates even more versatility you can use with your inks, which is super cool. So let's go in next and do some stamping with my inks. What do you guys think? I think I should show some stamping. Now, I don't have a ton of super solid images. One of the ones that I do have is from the Dudes 2 stamp set. Now, this is the one we were talking about a little bit earlier. This is one of my first stamp sets. And I'm super proud of this one because it gives the dudes in the industry a little bit more recognition, but also you can make dude cards for people in your life that are guys, right? So instead of just shoving a wrench on his card or something like that, you can actually make it more personable, give this to your nephew or things like that, kind of color it and dress it up like them. So that's super fun, and I think maybe for later this year we'll have even more stamp sets that coordinate. But there are a couple, like the Surf's Up stamp set and stuff, that you can add the heads and bodies interchangeably, which is super awesome. So I love doing that with all my stamps though too, to make sure that they're all going to work together really nicely and having interchangeable pieces and things like that. Okay, let's see. Awesome. Linnea said this is so fun. Catherine said, hi guys, holy smokes, what did I miss? Well, we've just been having fun with inks tonight, which I'm super excited about. So let me grab first this Dude stamp set. It's kind of one of the most solid ones from my line, and I'm going to show you a fun technique that I always did with it. So let me go in here. I'm going to grab an acrylic block. Now, when I do acrylic blocks, I'm going to tell you kind of a secret about them. I actually don't love all the acrylic blocks that are super thick in the industry. This one is like the perfect size. Ranger showed it to me. I work with Ranger, but I don't like need to sell any of their other products. That's the thing. So when I do sell it, you'll know that I just like it. And so this is an acrylic black from them, and it's super nice and thin. It's at a great price point too. I think it's in their letter line, but I've been using it nonstop because it's not too thin and not too thick. I find sometimes with the thick acrylic blacks, you can never get like the center of the image stamped, which is kind of annoying to me. So that's why I like this one. You can add a little bit more pressure to it. Does the ink reconstitute after dried? Yes. So if you add water to it, no matter what, it's going to react. Okay, so let's grab a piece of stark white cardstock. Here we have it. And I'm going to do some stamping. So let's start off with, should we do a little bit of a rainbow of stamping? I'm going to start off with bee sting here. Let's hope all my ink pads are nice and well inked, because I haven't inked them in a while. So I'm going to start off with bee sting. And let's go down this side of my card and do some stamping. So I like to do this with a little bit of a border with this dude stamp. So I'll stamp it once. You get that full solid image. I'll move it down just a little bit and stamp it twice for a second generation image. And then I'll move it down one more time and stamp it a third time. And you could literally get 3 stamp generations out of this. So I did a whole video too on stamp layering with my one ink pad. So I'll link that up in the top corner for after for the replay viewers. But look at that. And it slowly smooths into the paper too. But you get a nice, beautiful stamped image. It's not perfect at stamping, but it does a really nice job at making sure you're going to get a great stamped image. And then all you have to do too is clean off with water, which is one of my favorite parts. It doesn't stain your stamps at all. It keeps your stamps nice and clear. The only thing that really stains my stamps is the archival inks and things like that. Okay, so let's go in with, let's next do slippery when wet. This is that nice yellow color. Ink that up. Okay. And then I'll stamp that down, and we can again stamp it once, stamp twice, stamp 3 times, and there we go. So look at that. You could do that with all of the ink colors. Lori says, dude, in all caps, right? It's so awesome that you're able to get so many different techniques out of one ink pad. Guys, like when I first released these inks, everybody was like, okay, do we really need another ink? Like, do we really, guys? And I get it, right? Because a lot of the inks on the market are made exactly the same. But one thing that I really respect with Ranger is that they don't do that, right? So they give us all of our own formulas. We go in and talk to the chemist, and we make sure that it's exactly how we want it. So it's not the same formula between all of our inks, which is super nice. So I'm going to go in with Overzealous next. Or actually, wait. Y'all have seen a lot of Overzealous. Let me do some Sike, because that's one of the newer colors. Where is it? I love Sike. It's one of my favorites, actually. It's kind of like a yellow-green color. It's one that you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with that one, and then you get it, and you just use it on everything. Okay, so let's stamp that down. So let's go 1, 2, 3. And all of them can pretty much get 3. I mean, the lighter colors will be super light when it gets to 3. But look, just a super fun border, right? Like, look how cool this is. And I think for one of my cards, I've done like a border like this and have the dude like coming in from it. So just so that it's just a super fun one. And then you could put happy birthday or something like that there. But so much fun, right? Yay, Mel says she's happy she didn't completely miss me, but she needs to definitely check out the replay. Awesome. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next color. This is the last one, and let's do Clear Skies to finish it off. Perfect. And then I'll go in here. We'll see that last one. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. We have our border all nice and finished with some stamping. And then, of course, all you need to do to finish this off is go in and grab one of your dudes, right? You can put him like here, cut this part off, maybe add a little bit of a border too. Just so much fun. So many opportunities too, which I just love. And these are the dudes die cuts too. Yep, refill inks are definitely available, for sure. Lori C says, can I work for you? Mike says, Simon and Rena are a cute card making duo. Awesome. So I'm glad you guys love the videos with her too. She has been so much fun. So here is that stamped background once I am all complete with it. So I showed watercolor, I showed ink blending, I showed stamping. Is there anything else that I can do? There are so many different techniques you could do with the ink. Should I just keep kind of going here? The name of my inks there are Simon Hurley Create Inks. And again, guys, I have all of the links down below in the description. And using those links helps support me. There's also a link with a coupon code for Simon20 that you can use at rangerink.com. That's a one-time use code. So guys, if you're using it, stack your cart with anything from Ranger. You can get 20% off that whole purchase too. So if you're new, it's your first time purchase, check out using code Simon20 at checkout at rangerink.com. Yeah, okay, let's go in with another kind of technique and share one last thing before we go. But I'm so glad you guys are enjoying this. I think we'll do some more lives throughout the whole week and maybe month because of everything that's going on. So let's go in here and just share, let's share a fun technique with a stencil. Because this one is super cool and I have been loving it. So let's start off with a lighter color. Let's do kind of a blended background. Guys, I'm going to show you one of my favorite ink blending combos right now that you can do with coloring. But I encourage you guys to play around with different color combinations you could do as well. Yep, so here's the ink pad. It's a felt ink pad. So it's a really great sturdy ink pad surface that transfers the ink nicely, but isn't too soft too. So I'm going to go in with Guppy first. And I'm going in with a lighter hand. I think I showed this in one of my most recent videos. Pretty sure I did. But it is such a fun technique that I wanted to share it here again. So I'm using Guppy. I'm pretty sure I literally did the same color combination too. So let me do something different. I'm going to do something different just for you guys, just for all you live viewers. Let's try something out new. If it ends up like trash, at least we tried, right? It's not going to make brown, but it might. Yep, Simon20. Try that at checkout. Oh, Beth, I'll keep you in my prayers for sure. Okay, so then let's go in with, let's do some bee sting. This is literally the color combo I was just gonna do. Okay, let's switch it up. We're gonna go in with some tropical tango. I'm switching it up for you guys, okay? So this is kind of a green teal color, which I just love. My advice on Get Well Soon cards, let me tell you, with Get Well Soon cards, I like to just make a happy card with an encouraging sentiment. That's why I did that latest encouraging word stamp set, which has those big sentiments in it. That's also linked down below. Let me just show it, because I was going to do a technique with that. Oh, I'll share another technique in a second, but this is one of my favorite stamp sets right now from me. And I just created that because I wanted some encouraging sentiments, because you don't always need to just say, you know, get well. I'd rather have a nice happy card that just makes them smile go out in the mail instead. So we've done a little bit of Guppy, we've done a little bit of tropical tango. And you want to keep kind of a light hand. I forgot what technique I was doing. Sometimes I forget that I'm even live. Yep, it blends well with brushes too. Do I have brushes? I don't think I have any on hand. I have some of, let me show you guys. Okay, the only brushes I have are for distress oxides, so that's not gonna work well because you can't mix the inks with the oxides. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of triple berry then. But yep, they blend just as well with brushes. It just takes a little bit more. Brushes aren't my favorite things right now. They're not super comfortable to hold, I think, whereas I like this a lot better. And also, I don't like how many layers you have to add to get a nice solid color too. But they'll blend just the exact same with brushes. It just takes a little bit more effort, like you'll have to do with all inks, because it lays it a little bit lighter handed. Okay, let's keep the chat nice and light. Okay, So let's go in and finish it off with a little bit of bee sting. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. You'll notice that it's not super blended in between the lines. That's because I don't want to keep adding a ton of ink, because what I'm going to do is go in with a stencil. Go in here with a stencil. Let me grab my station. And this is going to hold that stencil down really nicely there. Okay, and then I can go in here with a little bit of a heavier hand and start my ink blending. And I'm just going to go over top with a little bit more color. And what that's going to do is it's just going to create like a darker, more intense look on top of there. Almost like you like resisted it or embossed it there to create this really cool resist, which I just love. And of course you can kind of overlap colors more. This is where we're going to get our nice blending on top. But you don't need a perfectly blended background because the stencil is going to kind of distract from it. Okay, let me magnet that down. Okay, and then let's go in here with a little bit of a darker tone. And I'm just going to ink blend over top of this. And there we go. It doesn't take too much effort. You just want to go in with a heavier hand. If you went in with lighter at first, this should be super easy. And my inks just build up as you go. So if you're just adding on another layer, it's just going to keep building up since they're translucent dye-based inks. And it's just going to build more color on top of each other. And then last but not least, we'll go in with a little bit of bee sting to finish it off. So this is my the Lou stencil, which just recently came up in my release too. And look how fun that is, right? So I absolutely love that background that it creates. It creates that lighter tone where the stencil was, and then it creates a darker tone on top, which so looks super cool. TC's Paper Blessing says this stencil rocks with texture paste, right? So I sew, these colors together. So this is Guppy, Tropical Tango, Triple Berry, and Bee Sting. So much fun. Again, like I said, guys, just try new things because this would usually make brown together. This wouldn't make a super nice color usually. And so just kind of test things out, play with them. Of course, you can flip it over to the backside if you need to, but usually it doesn't create a nasty brown, which is so awesome. TC's Paper Blessing says the names on your inks are cracking me up. Thank you. I hope to make people kind of smile with the inks and the names and stuff like that. Yay, Linnea, yeah, I saw your card. She said she just made something with Rena's enamels using this stencil. You can use the stencils on so many things, which is what I love because they're at a great price point and you can kind of use them over and over with different products. Awesome. So like I said, everything's linked down below. Now let me share one more last technique before I head off of the live stream tonight. But I hope you guys are having an awesome night. And I will continue live streaming kind of throughout the week. I'll do more and more crafting videos and maybe chat every once in a while as well if you guys like that, just sitting down and chatting too. But it'll kind of hopefully take your mind off of things and stuff like that. Awesome. So this is the Encouraging Words stamp set. So they're definitely stained. You can see how much I have used this stamp set throughout this whole time since the release. It has been, whew, I love this one. I use it on like a lot of cards because a lot of times I just make a background and these just finish off an A2 size card beautifully. So you guys were asking for sympathy card sentiments. I like things like this that just make people smile instead of something too negative or anything like that. Okay, so let me do, let's do You Are Perfect Just the Way You Are. And I want to show a fun stamping technique, which I've probably, again, I've already shared most of these before, but a lot of my favorite things are just kind of compiling them into a live stream for you guys. So if you want to just sit down and learn a lot at once about a certain product or something like that, that way it's all here for you. I'm going to go in with some archival stamp cleaner quick, and just clean off this stamp quick because, like I said, I've been using these encouraging word stamps a lot, and who knows what the heck I used it with last. So I want to make sure it's nice and clean before I go in and do my stamping. Okay, perfect. So once that's nice and clean, I'm going to go in and yay, someone says they're loving, Marcy says they're loving the distraction. Thanks. Definitely. Yay. Okay. So I'm going to go in first with, let's do a little bit of Guppy. And this is one of my favorite techniques. So of course, like I showed guys, you can just stamp this down and get a really beautiful look. But if you want to, you can go in with different color ink pads and kind of roll them on your surface to get this beautiful effect that kind of blends and gradients together. And then on this side, let's go in with the color that we've kind of been using with these two. This is another one of my favorite color combos. It's just this tropical tango with yellow in the middle and then red on the other side. And sometimes I put warm breath onto it, and that's going to make sure that it stays nice and juicy when you're stamping. And then I'll stamp that sentiment down, and look at that. Okay, so look, I got that ink pad a little bit more into there, but look, you can see how beautiful that looks once you're finished. So rock and roll stamping is another super fun technique you could do with it. Love it. Exactly. Nothing wrong with refresher videos and things like that. And I love this. So of course you could cut off the edges, create a cool background on here, but do some stamping like this. It is so much fun. Of course, if you put it in your Misty too, you can do each layer individually and get more colors in between here, which I just love. Okay, let me do one more thing, guys. There's absolutely one more that I wanted to show you, and then I'm going off for tonight. This one is called Bird Buddies. It's one of my most recent stamp sets. Again, we can see I've loved it, used it a lot. Staining doesn't really, staining doesn't affect your stamp set. I think we do these at a great price point, though. I do want to point that out. It is a 6x9 stamp set, which we give you 1 extra inch. Usually they're 6x8, and also they're clear photopolymer, and they're about, I think, $23 on the site, which is not bad. And of course, like I said, if you go to rangerink.com, link down below, you can use code SIMON20 at checkout on your first purchase for 20% off, which is awesome. So let me show you guys. I'm just going to go in. Let's go in with, let's do this guy. I love this peacock. It is so much fun. And I love these birds because they're a great size for your cards too, to be just the focal point of your card. At this point, when I'm doing watercoloring, I like to take out a watercolor cardstock. This one's from Ranger. It's got a rough side and a more smooth side. I use the smooth side when I'm stamping. Yay, Bernadette says that she loves my videos. She gets her creative inspiration from me. That's so awesome. I really appreciate that. So I'm just going to use some jet black archival ink. And the reason why I use watercolor cardstock or switch over to that when I'm stamping down an image like this and watercoloring it in is because I want to make sure that I have, let me zoom this in quick, but I want to make sure that when I'm watercoloring, I have a little bit more control to move things around. And like I said earlier, the stark white cardstock seeps in the ink a little bit quickly and a little bit too quick for when I'm watercoloring. So that's the only one thing that I just like to switch over to this cardstock when I'm using it. So I'll add some water down to my surface. I'll add some colors down. I'm going to use a little bit of Tropical Tango. I'll go in with a little bit of Sike. So we released these 6 colors because they worked perfectly in unison with some of the other ones that we had to create, like peacocks and dogs and things like that. So that's why we released kind of the colors when we did. We'll add a little bit of Guppy into here. And let's do a little bit of Crown Me too, which is that nice rich purple. We were like, that is the peacock color, right? So the cool part about my inks is you can go in with just a water brush, add a little bit of water after you've added them down onto your surface. So you should be using like a non-stick craft sheet from Ranger. And then I'm going to go in and add and do a little bit of watercoloring. And so I like to start off by just adding a little bit of a wash of color down first. So I'll just lightly add this clear skies. We can add a little bit of water to smooth it out. There's no really rhyme or reason when you're creating or watercoloring. There's not too many rules you have to follow. That's what I love about it. It's not like Copic markers or something that's super hard to learn. It's literally just going in with a paintbrush and painting it on however you want, which I think is what makes these so fun and easy. But I wanted to highlight this last thing because I use it for this all the time and it's not intimidating at all. It's just super easy to go in and add color down to these guys. And if you want it to be a little bit darker, grab more color in with a little bit less water, and you can add some kind of shading into there too. And so if I don't want the color to bleed in between other colors, I just go in and heat set it. You don't need to heat set anything, but it's just going to make sure that that's not going to bleed onto the other areas. Are you going to come up with dyes for your stamps? I'm not quite sure at this point. That peacock is sassy, Marcy says. They're pretty easy to cut out, I find, but we're looking into it. But we don't have a ton of plans for that right now. It's a little bit more difficult to kind of create dyes for each stamp set. So, but we'll look into it. We'll definitely think about that. Awesome. You can always, if you have questions about the products too, you can always reach out to customer service at rangerink.com. If you have any questions about your products or anything in the lines, and they'll be happy to help out there too about any things like that. But I always say, if you guys keep supporting the line, Ranger's going to keep supporting it as well and come out with new stuff. So let me heat set this. I don't want anything to bleed together. Okay, and then let's go in with a little bit of Crown Me, which is that purple color. Just continue that watercoloring. And so it's so super easy to do, which is what I love about it, because I struggled with other coloring mediums until I found just watercoloring with inks, because it's so simple and it's already something you've invested in. So if you've invested in it for backgrounds and things like that, it's just such a no-brainer that since you can watercolor in with it, that you would do that as well, since it can do so many things when you invest into them. So I'll just quickly watercolor this in, and then we'll call it a night after I finish this off. So look at that. I just love how that turns out. So super easy, and of course you could take a little bit more time to make sure everything's nice and colored in, but it is so simple to add a little bit of watercoloring on there. It matches the backgrounds that you can create with it and the colors in your background, which is so super fun as well. Do I have demo videos on Ranger's site? I don't think I have a ton on their site. However, you can look on my YouTube channel, and I have videos for almost every single product that we come out with, and a lot of the videos that I do just use my products as well. Awesome. Okay, so let's zoom this out a little bit. We can kind of recap what we've done in the live stream, and then I'll kind of say goodnight for now, and I'll see you guys later this week. So let me recap it a little bit, clean up the surface. And again, these inks just come off with a little bit of water. Actually, guys, this reminded me of one more technique. Okay, we're doing one more thing. One more. Y'all are like, he has said that 5 times. I'm going to hop off the live stream now. But seriously, this is the last thing that I want to share, but it is so much fun, and I can't believe I forgot it until now. So I'm going to grab some Crown Me, and usually I would be working, this is like similar to a Ranger craft sheet. I'm going to add a little bit of Bee Sting. I'll add maybe a little bit of Clear Skies. Let's throw in a little bit of Overzealous. Okay. I'm going to spray it with some water here to get those colors kind of moving. Now this is similar to working on a glass mat, but if you work on the Ranger craft sheet, you'll get a different effect each time. But the cool part is you can dip into here and get some awesome results when you're creating. Now the one thing I do have to say is when you're creating with backgrounds like this, you do want to be a little bit more careful, because when you add water into the mix, that's when it can start creating brown. So you want to be careful, but I still mixed purple and green together, and it didn't create an awful color, which is great. So I'm going to go in here, and in between each layer, you want to make sure you heat set it to make sure that the colors are not going to bleed into layers. And if you heat set it in between layers, you'll get different texture on the next layer so that it doesn't kind of all seep into one background. So once I've got that, I'm going to go in and continue dipping it into the color there, and you're going to get different textures as you dip it into here, which I think is so super cool. So look, I'm getting different color and texture as I dip it in. I'm gonna wipe off this background for now. You don't want it to get too messy or the colors to be mixing too much. Then let me grab another color. I'm gonna grab a little bit of Tropical Tango. And each time you're gonna get a different look from your background. So you'll get a different look each time, but I just kind of tap my cardstock into it, barely even give any pressure, and you get such a super cool look. Thank you so much. Marcy says she recently did this with my inks and loved the results. So look at how cool that background is. And of course, continue dipping it in to keep getting different results if you want ink in different places. You can also do it with a piece of acetate and put the acetate with the ink on here. And that's going to create a little bit more control if you want that too. But dipping it into there can be such a super cool effect. I literally got ink on my keyboard. I'm just trying to wipe it off right now. But this is such a fun technique to do as well. Thanks, Mel. Yeah, it's just, I think it really is the inks because look, even some of these colors should make brown, and with my inks, it like does it. It creates just a beautiful color in between. Of course, if you do get kind of a brown sludge color, you can get rid of it if you like, but I literally love the look of this background, and I'm fine with it. But that's just what you do. You just kind of play with the colors and see what you like and see what you don't like, and just kind of have fun with it and just play. Thank you so much. TC said, love the names one more time. Okay, this is Stark White cardstock, Melissa. So I have the link down below. This is the Stark White cardstock. I compared it earlier. It's just a really great cardstock to work on. So we colored in using watercolor. We dipped it in using watercolor smooshing using the inks. We also did a little bit of rock and roll stamping with the ink pads. I shared a fun ink blended background with the inks. Then I did an ink blended background with water and the inks to create a cool stamped resist effect, which I think is so much fun. Let's see, let's dig through here. I also compared the Stark White cardstocks with other cardstock on the market to show the difference between those. I did some cool 3rd generation stamping. We did some cool watercolor shells and ink blending. So here are some of the things that we did tonight. A lot of things you could do with the inks, of course, tons of videos on my channel sharing it. I use the inks in almost every single card. So if you do spend your money on them, you're going to get your money's worth. And I assure you guys, they work so well for all different techniques, which is what I really wanted to create. Awesome. Okay, let me switch up to the face camera. Hey everyone. So thank you guys so much for joining the live stream tonight. I'll kind of chit chat with you guys. I covered a lot tonight, definitely, Marcy. So if you guys want to, if you missed part of the live stream, be sure to check out the beginning after this is all over so you guys can check that out and see all the awesome techniques that we did. I love doing live streams, but I also love not wasting your guys' time. So when I do them, I make sure that I have lots of techniques to share and kind of compile them all. You guys can kind of see all the awesome techniques we've done. But I like to make sure that I have tons of info that I'm going over so that if it is a 50-minute video, you're still getting so much information out of it, almost like a live class, which is super cool. The color difference on the cardstock is huge. Definitely check out. All the products are linked down below in the description box, so check out those links if you want to go shopping. There's also a coupon code. Use code SIMON20 at checkout at rangerink.com to get 20% off your entire purchase one time, so be sure to use that coupon. Pack your cart full when you use it. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know the world is kind of crazy right now, and I hope this was a great distraction for you guys. You can also go through the whole category of videos on my channel and just kind of continue watching if you would like to as well. If you're new here, give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. That's right. Jay Smith said, give this video a big thumbs up. Beth said she's going to watch the replay. Be sure to click that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this one from me. And I'll see you guys very soon for another card making and crafting video. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Stay safe, have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!